Indonesia. A couple of 100 million people and one of the biggest, most rambunctious elections in the world of democracy. It's a peculiar democracy. And our correspondent in Indonesia, Duncan Graham, has the drill. Wait till you check out the size of this ballot paper. You think elections in Australia are a big deal. You ain't seen nothing yet. The turnout is massively higher, despite non-compulsory voting, than anywhere.
A few weeks ago, this roadside was nature, many shades of tropical green. But now it's election season, sprouting adverts, as you can see in this unlovely streetscape of Malang in East Java, an otherwise attractive and historic hill town. On St. Valentine's Day, there won't be much romance in Indonesia. That's when Indonesians will choose their next leaders, and the scene may not be so happy. The last time we had a big ballot, that was 5 years ago, around 500 election officials died. Not through violence, but through stress. Okay, now let's get down to some serious statistics. As you can see, there are 24 political parties contesting for the votes of more than 200 million Indonesians. 24 parties, goodness me. Now, some of them are quite small, like Parti Garuda and Parti Gelora. So they have to form coalitions to survive. Some parties are almost purely religious. This one, that one are Muslim. This one tends to be more Christian. But overall, they are secular because Indonesia is a secular country. Now, voting is not compulsory, but at the last general election, we had 83% of the voters turned up. Now, you compare that with the last general election in America, where only 66% turned up. Okay, enough blah blah. Let's look at the candidates, because in Indonesia, elections are more about personalities than policies. Top of the list by ballot is these fellas. US-educated Dr. Anies Baswedan is the former governor of Jakarta, and he scored the prime #1 place on the paper with Mohammed Iskandar of the Islamic Party, the PKB. They're backed by a coalition of 3 parties. The biggest is NASDEM, or National Democrat. In Australian terms, a slightly left-of-centre party. The others are Islamic. Some Australians will recognise the slogan. Second place is held by the hard-right Gerindra, or Greater Indonesia Party, headed by cashiered former General Prabowo Subianto. For a while, he was banned from the United States for alleged human rights abuses. His sidekick is President Joko's eldest son, Gibran Rakabuming, the former mayor of Solo City in central Java. He's half the age of his leader, so the artists have been trying to make one younger and the other older. There are 6 parties in this coalition, and many have conflicting policies with the others. Some Americans will recognize the slogan, "Make Indonesia Great Again." Third spot goes to former Central Java Governor Ganja Pranoo of the Republic's largest party, the PDIP. His co-accused is veteran politician Mahfud MD, whose most notable contribution so far has been to blame wives for their husbands' corruption. This is a 4-party coalition. The PDIP is a leftish, nationalistic, secular outfit, but its mates, who expect ministries for their support, can reroute policies. The boss of PDIP is the fearsome matriarch Megawati, briefly the fifth president, who sees herself as Queen of the Republic. Note her claws. The finger gesture is supposed to emulate a bull's head, the party symbol. Mega's daddy, Sukarno, was the nation's proclamator of independence in 1945 and the first president. He died 53 years ago, but his ghostly image is still used in advertising. It panders to the widespread belief in spooks and the paranormal. The guy on the right is Joko Widodo, better known as Jokowi, and president of Indonesia for the last 2 5-year terms. The law won't let him stand again. So why is his photo so commonly seen on election banners? That's because he has a popularity rating of above 80%. So candidates reckon if their picture is alongside his, then they'll get glory by association. It's the rub-off factor. Okay, when the voters go in their booth, they'll get a voting paper like this. Now, you think that the Senate paper in Australia is pretty awkward and cumbersome and difficult to understand. Well, you just wait till you see what this one looks like. The voter doesn't have a pencil or a pen. They get a nail on a piece of stick, looking like the sort of shiv that prisoners build in or make in the jails. And the idea is you put the nail through the photo or the head of the candidate that you want. And at the end of the voting, the electoral officer holds up the paper so all the people around can see that there's a hole there and that this is a valid vote. Okay, if the end result is that no one candidate or no one group of 3 candidates gets more than 50% of the vote, then we're going to have to do all of this again. That'll be happening on the 26th of June. Well, many people will be asking, what's the latest prediction? Well, we're still 6 weeks away from the election itself, so it'd be pretty stupid to forecast anything. But I do have to tell you that at the moment, with the polling, these guys here, Prabowo and Ganja, are in the front running. But anybody who really tries to predict what's going to happen now should be told to get on their bike.
How big was that ballot paper? Thank you, Duncan, for that excellent investigation into this looming election in Indonesia. It will be riveting watching indeed, and we expect that it will get minimal coverage despite Indonesia being Australia's neighbour, because we tend to undercover Indonesia in the mainstream media. So we'll have all the latest for you here on Michael West Media and The West Report. And thank you for your support. We need to pay people like Duncan and, Rex and the rest of it, all the freelancers which work for us. So appreciate your financial support as well as sharing the stories and getting involved in commentary and debate.